Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm ChefAnnaFrazer and today we're making a fish and chip burger. I'm going to start off by making the chip element. These aren't traditional chips, they're kind of matchstick fries. They go really well as a sort of really crunchy aspect to the finished sandwich. So I've just got a regular kind of Maris Piper, large floury style potato here that we're going to peel. So what we're going to do to start with is we're going to make slices. So you'll have a nice little stack and we're just going to cross cut the other way. So we've got nice, long, thin matchsticks. And the idea here, unlike with other chips, we're not going to fry them so that they're fluffy in the middle and crunchy on the outside. It's not really about that. It's very much about crunchy, crisp matchsticks, which will just, it's very much a texture element basically. So we're going to rinse them in cold water and that is going to rinse off any excess starch from them, which will give you a better chance of a nice, crispy, crunchy finished result. So now that's done, a really, really key step, I cannot express this enough, is dry the chips. What you don't want to be doing is putting wet chips into boiling hot oil. So we're going to dry these really well on some kitchen paper. You don't want these to be dripping wet because you'll have an interesting time when you put them in the oil. So we've cut and dried our chips. I've got a pan of vegetable oil, which is coming up to temperature. So it's just a case of dropping them in and cooking them until they're nice and golden brown. Okay, so these have been going for about 5-6 minutes. They're a lovely kind of deep golden brown. That's exactly what we want. So I've just got some kitchen paper here. I'll drain them off. Absolutely delightful. So to season, I've just got some fine sea salt. And that's basically it. These will drain off. These can sit quite happily while we get on with everything else. So I'm going to make a really quick mushy peas in true kind of fish and chip form. These are frozen peas. I actually just left them to defrost because frozen peas are actually cooked. So you don't need to cook these. I'm just going to lightly crush them. I want a lot of texture. I don't want this to be kind of a puree. So you just get them into a bowl, crush them down with a fork. I've got some dried mint and chili flakes to add, and just a splash of extra virgin olive oil. Second condiment we're going to make is a classic tartar sauce. Staying really classic with the flavours. I've got some mayo, some Dijon mustard, chopped dill, fresh dill. You could use parsley, tarragon. These are cornichons that I've chopped up. Still nice and chunky. I really like a chunky tartar sauce. And then some small capers. Get all them in there. The last thing to add is some lemon. So we're going to zest and juice that. This is the element of the burger that's going to bring acidity, and you want quite a lot of acidity when you have lots of fried elements, which we do here. I'm just give that a mix. And that is the tartare ready to go. So the most important final element that we need to prep is the batter for the fish. We're doing a classic beer batter. So for that, we have some plain flour. And I'm also going to use some rice flour. This is key to keeping it crispy. I think if you just use plain flour, it might be crispy to start with, but it'll very quickly become soggy. And the rice flour is just the best thing at keeping it nice and crispy. I've also got some baking powder here. That helps aerate the batter and make it nice and light. So they're my dry ingredients. Just incorporate those nicely. For the wet, we have some cold beer and some cold sparkling water. So we're just going to incorporate that through. The reason why we want them to be cold is because when the cold batter hits the hot oil, a chemical reaction happens and it creates more lightness within the batter. I'm using a kind of craft hoppy lager, something with a good flavour. So our batter's ready to go. It's now time to dredge the fish. First, I've got some more rice flour here. I'm gonna dust the pieces of fish into the rice flour. This will help the batter stick. And with it being rice flour, we've got even more opportunity for crispiness as well. Pop the fish into the batter, make sure it's really well coated, and then very carefully, we're gonna drop it into the hot oil. So these are quite big, chunky pieces of cod, so I reckon they're gonna need about 15 minutes. You can see they're not completely submerged in the oil, which is absolutely fine. We'll just flip them after a couple of minutes. So that's the fish done. I'm just gonna drain them on some kitchen paper. Gonna let them rest, have a little clear down, and then make the burgers. So we've got our gorgeously crispy fried fish, which I'm just gonna season quite liberally with some fine sea salt. I've got a lovely toasted brioche bun. Let's start off with some of that delicious tartar sauce, followed by some of this slightly spicy crushed pea. On with the piece of fish. I can just feel how crispy that is. Ooh, okay, we want a little bit more tartar sauce. A few of these crispy, crunchy potato chips. And pop the lid on. And that is a fish and chip burger with tartar sauce and mushy peas. Can you think of anything more perfect? All that's left to do is take a bite. Oh my word. It's so zingy from that lemony tartar. And the peas work really well. It's all your classic chippy shop flavors. Definitely give it a go, you're gonna love it. Full recipe will be up on my Substack, which I'll link below. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.